13.7 trillion naira at the end of December 2018.
Senior Democrats have responded by accusing him of committing a gross offense.
The All Progressives Congress has vowed to punish the Ogun State Governor, Ibikule Amosu.
You're welcome to Celebration Television News Desk. I am Nicholas Akosile Walter. Here are the news making the headlines. Lay aside every weight, Apostle Johnson Suleiman. Sierra Leone reopens schools. Trump downplays virus on leaving hospital. Nigeria's gas export recover and surpasses pre-COVID-19 level. Brazilian winger Alves joins Quara United on one-year deal. Please stay with us as we bring the details of the news after the short break. All right, thanks for joining us once again. Now the news in details. Nigeria's president approves special salary scale for teachers. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved a special salary scale and new retirement age for teachers. The president increased the number of service years for the teachers from 35 to 40. The gesture was announced in Abuja by the Minister of Education, Malam Adamu Adamu, in commemoration of the 2020 World Teachers' Day. Over the years, Nigerian teachers have continued to agitate, amongst others, an increase in their retirement age, welfare and salaries. The minister at the 2020 World Teachers' Day celebration explained that the implementation of a new teacher salary scheme was to encourage the teachers in delivering better services. The president said government notes the emergency situation in the educational system with particular reference to the dearth of qualified and dedicated teachers to enhance the quality of teaching and learning at all levels of our educational system. To address these challenges, as said, the country is on the path of industrialization where the educational system will produce the needed skills and manpower. The president approved the following things: and the reintroduction of bursary award to education students in university and college of education with assurance of automatic employments upon graduation, payment of stipends to Bachelor of Education students, as well as granting them automatic employment after graduation is now a government policy. The Tertiary Education Fund will now fund teacher practice in universities and colleges of education, especially salary scales for teachers in basic and secondary schools, including provisions for rural posting allowance, science teachers allowance and peculiar allowance. Special teacher pensions came to enable the teaching profession retain its experienced talent, as well as extend teachers' retirement age to 65 years and teacher service years to 40. Create a career path policy for teaching profession in Nigeria and teachers conversion program and ICT training in mitigating the current dearth of qualified teachers in the school system. Moving forward quickly, the IGP vows to reform Federal SAS Tactical Squad. The Inspector General of Police, Muhammad Adamu, has reaffirmed his pledge to reform the Federal Anti-Robbery Squad and other tactical units of FAS. The IG, that's the Inspector General, has said this in Abuja when the Ministry of Youth and Sports, Mr. Sunday Dari, paid a classic call on him. This was contained in a statement by the force spokesman, DCP Frank Mba. The IG called on the citizen to exercise patience, noting that reforms in federal SARS were still in progress, adding all the announced measures aimed at checkmating a future occurrence of extrajudicial activities by some personnel of the federal SARS and others tactical units of the force will be implemented. He reiterated that some of the officers who have been found to be unruly and unprofessional in their dealings with the citizens, particularly in the youths, have been arrested and were already facing disciplinary actions. In his remarks, Dari commended the IG for his prompt response in tackling the issues and called for stronger collaboration and mutual understanding between the police and the youths. He also called for regular town hall meetings at various state commands, which would involve the police spokesperson, civil society organizations, and other critical stakeholders to strengthen the synergy between the police and the citizens, especially the youths. This development is coming amidst the call for an end to the federal SARS by members of the public due to the increase in incessant killings by the federal SARS. Also lending a voice to this movement is the senior pastor of Omega Fire Ministries International, Apostle Johnson Suleiman, via his Twitter handle. He iterated that SARS should be proscribed as they are a disgrace to the police force and worse than the criminals they claim to be against. He further stated their trigger-happy nature have rendered mothers childless, sent youth on premature extinction, wasted destinies, and they will surely reap what they have sown. There have also been speculations of various protests being planned across different states and the countries, all to the same end. In another development quickly, lay aside every weight by Apostle Johnson Suleiman. Due to the problem about life and Christian decisions and moving with a trend that were rendering the dictates of God as old-fashioned, Apostle Johnson Suleiman resounded to the church the principles of embarking on the Christian journey. On Sunday, 4th October 2020, the church attested to this truth that any assignment God gives to a man, he likens it to a journey. This is not far from making the Christian journey smooth as long as you consider the nitty-gritty. Meanwhile, making a distinct point out of the situation, he mentioned that to embark on a journey, whoever you are and whatever phase of life you are from, there is a need to lay aside every weight. However, you find Christians who do things in excess, be it sleep, appetite, and unhealthy activities, which are not fit for a successful journey.
Proverbs chapter 20, verse 13. Those that love sleep shall come to poverty. Some of us, sleep is our weight. If they leave you for 5 minutes, you are gone. 5 minutes. People conversing with you, you are gone. I mean, it's a weight. When God wakes you up to pray, God wakes you up. No alarm clock in your house. Do you know some people will program their alarm on their phone to wake up, and they still sleep? The alarm is ringing, they are dozing. It's a weight. Say, lay it aside. Let that weight in this your journey. That weight will weigh you down. It will slow your speed. Because in this journey of Christianity that we are on, some people are on this journey running it fast. In those days, a person is said to have backslidden when he turns back to the world. But this day, when you stand on a spot and people leave you behind, you are backslidden. People, look at where people are catching fire. Revival of prayer. I pity any one of us who is still struggling with certain emotions, struggling with certain ideologies. People are on revival. People are crazy for this God. People are passionate about prayer, passionate about the word of God.
He further buttressed little things Christians thought not important, they overlooked them, and these are the ways that crushes great destinies. The Christian race, everything is important. The apostle urged that all Christians should have the revival mindset. Coming from around Africa quickly, Sierra Leone reopened schools. Schools in Sierra Leone reopened after 6 months experienced wait whether it was safe for children to resume lessons. Schools shuttered in the poor West African nation in March after the first coronavirus case was detected, affecting nearly 3 million children. Face mask and hand washing has actually been made compulsory in schools across the country, where 2,269 coronavirus cases with 72 deaths have been officially registered. Students who turned up for classes in Freetown said they are happy to be back in school after a long break. Sierra Leone boasts huge minerals and diamond deposits, but it remains one of the world's poorest nations, still recovering from decades of war and diseases. And still from around Africa, defiant protests in Algiers for democratic change. Around 400 to 500 demonstrators took to the streets of Algiers in defiance of a nationwide ban on protests to demand democratic change, as they also called for the release of over 60 members of a hierarch anti-government movement that saw President Abdelaziz Bouteflika step down last year. The weekly demonstrations that followed the events came to a halt earlier this year due to coronavirus prevention restrictions in light of the pandemic. The protest resulted in the arrest of over 20 people, according to a prisoner support committee, which is the CNLD. The event is reminiscent of the coincidental anniversary of the October 1988 demonstration that had Algeria declare state of emergency, leaving hundreds of citizens dead, but also ushering in political reform that ended a single-party system. A resurgence of rallies in Algeria is expected with less than a month to go before a key referendum on constitutional reform, a vote the government hopes will meet protesters' demand. We'll go on a very short break. We'll come back, we'll bring you details from the United States of America. Let's see how Trump downplays virus on leaving the hospital. Stay with us.
Invigorating presence of grace, a people passionate for the kingdom. Get ready for an unforgettable moment that births dreams. International Youth Conference 2020, Pleasing God, from the 6th to the 8th October 2020, 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. daily at the International Worship Center, Omega Fire Ministries, Kilometer 132 Benino Kene Abuja Expressway, Auchi, Edo State, Nigeria. Ministering Pastor Austin Igbinosa.
Nothing brings reduction like seduction. Sir, if they can seduce you, they can reduce you.
Reverend Fidelis Ayemuba.
How will you feel to know that you lost your virginity for Nokia 3310, and then today 3310 is like Ichabod, the glory has departed?
Apostle Johnson and Dr. Lizzie Suleiman. For inquiries, please call. It's time to please God.
Welcome back. Now, updates from the United States of America. Trump downplays virus on leaving hospital. U.S. President Donald Trump has made a theoretical return to the White House to continue his treatment for coronavirus after a 3-night hospital stay. Mr. Trump removed his mask on the balcony of the White House while posing for pictures. His physician said he would continue treatment from there and he may not entirely be out of the woods yet. Several of Mr. Trump's staff and aides have also tested positive for the virus in recent days. Questions remain over the seriousness of Mr. Trump's illness after a weekend of conflicting statements. The U.S. has had 7.4 million cases of COVID-19 and 210,000 deaths. Before his departure from hospital, the president told Americans in a tweet not to fear the disease. Mr. Trump said he feels better than he did 20 years ago. Mr. Trump's diagnosis has upended his campaign for a second term in office less than a month before the Republican president faces Democratic challenger Joe Biden in the presidential election. And more updates from the United Kingdom. Boris Johnson, wind farms to power every home by 2030. Every home in the United Kingdom will be powered by electricity from offshore wind farms within a decade, Boris Johnson to announce in his conference speech today. Promising to build back greener, the Prime Minister will pledge £160 million to upgrade ports and factories for bidding turbines. The plan aims to create 2,000 jobs in construction and support 60,000 more. He says the UK is to become the world leader in clean wind energy. The scheme will see the money invested into manufacturing in Teesside and Humber in northern England, as well as sites in Scotland and Wales. Mr. Johnson said the government was raising its targets for offshore wind power capacity by 2030 from 30 gigawatts to 40 gigawatts. The net zero target means greenhouse gas emission will be dramatically slashed and any remaining emission offset, neutralizing environmental impacts and slowing climate change. Mr. Johnson's speech comes amid criticism, including from some conservative member of parliament about his administration's handling of the coronavirus pandemic. And now on business news, Nigeria's gas exports recover and surpasses pre-COVID-19 level. The nation's gas exports have rebounded from the COVID-19 pandemic, rising from the fourth straight month in July to 115.71 billion cubic feet, the highest level in more than a year. Nigeria, which has the largest gas reserves in Africa and the 9th largest in the world, export gas mainly through the Nigeria LNG Limited, the West African Gas Pipeline, and the Escravos gas to liquids. The country is among the top 10 largest exporters of liquefied natural gas in the world, with a capacity of 22 million tons per annum. Its total gas exports tumbled to a record low of 87.28 BCF in March amid the sharp drop in global oil prices and demand from 110.71 BCF in February and 114.96 BCF in January. The international oil benchmark Brent crude had slumped to as low as $15.98 per barrel in April from $70 per barrel in January, but has been trading around $40 to $45 per barrel in recent months. The collapse in crude oil price added to pressure on the LNG prices, some of which are linked to oil. Gas exports, however, rose to 99.45 BCF in April, 103.17 BCF in May, and 114.07 BCF in June, according to data obtained by a correspondent from the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation. The group managing director and NPC, Malam Kyari, said in March that over 12 LNG cargoes were stranded in the markets globally for the first time ever. The managing director, NLNG, Mr. Tony Atta, said last week that the drop in crude oil prices to a 21-year low on account of increased supply coupled with very low demand due to the general disruption in manufacturing activities and aviation worsened the glut in the LNG market. He, however, noted that the market had rebounded slightly since oil prices stabilized around $40 per barrel and government had eased lockdown measures significantly. And still on business news, PIB lists functions of new agencies to replace NNPC. The Petroleum Industry Bill 2020 has listed the specific functions of the three agencies that will replace the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation when the proposed legislation is passed and assented to by President Muhammadu Buhari. A copy of the bill named the three agencies to be created from the NNPC to include the Nigerian Upstream Regulatory Commission, the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, and the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited. The bill states that the NURC shall be responsible for the technical and commercial regulation of upstream petroleum operations and ensure compliance with all applicable laws and regulations governing the upstream petrol operations. It would ensure that such operations are carried out in a manner to minimize waste and achieve optimal government revenues, among other functions. The NMDPRA, according to the bill, shall be responsible for the technical and commercial regulation of midstream and downstream petroleum operations in the petroleum industry. The bill explains that the function of the NMDPRA would be limited to midstream and downstream petroleum operations in the petroleum industry. It would ensure efficient, safe, effective, and sustainable infrastructural development of midstream and downstream petroleum operations. The agency is also expected to advise government agencies and other stakeholders on commercial matters relating to tariff and pricing frameworks. The bill states that the NNPC Limited must be incorporated 6 months after the commencement of the acts by the minister under the Companies and Allies Matter Act as a limited liability company. It states that the minister shall at the incorporation of NNPC Limited consult with the Minister of Finance to determine the number and nominal value of the shares to be allotted. The bill states that ownership of all shares in NNPC Limited shall be vested in the federal government at incorporation and held by the Ministry of Finance Incorporated on behalf of the government. We'll go on a short break. We'll come back, we'll bring you sport news. Don't go anywhere.
Has come for the gathering of sons to get recharged and revitalized.
The church that cannot be despised is a church of testimonies.
An outburst of revival.
Shagada. There's a revival! Let's take it.
International Ministers Conference, October edition.
Testimonies are the trademark of God's mandate.
Apostle Johnson and Dr. Lizzie Suleiman, 28th through 30th October 2020. Ministers without blemish. Time 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. GMT+1. Happening live at the International Worship Center, Omega Fire Ministries, Kilometer 132, Benin Okene Abuja Expressway, Auchi, Edo State, Nigeria. For inquiries, please call Ministers without blemish. Prepare for your next level.
You're welcome. Sports news. Brazilian winger Alves joins Quara United on one-year deal. Quara United have snapped up exciting Brazilian winger Lucas Ribeiro Alves on a one-year loan deal. The new arrival will be unveiled soon, according to the player's Greece-based Nigeria agent Peter Dennis Alade. Alves is the second high-profile signing to join the Afonja Warriors ahead of the 2020-2021 Nigerian Professional Football League, following the arrival of former Super Eagles goalkeeper Dele Ayenugba from Israeli side Hopo Afula. Quara United had been on the trial of the former Corinthians winger, with Alade playing a key role in the arrival of a South American to the London-based club. Alves, who can also function as a midfielder, had a stint in the U.S. cut short following the outbreak of COVID-19 in March. The 25-year-old is hoping to play a big role in Quara United's campaign next season, but admits the NPFL is a new challenge. Nigerian agent Alade, CEO of Prime Sports Management, said Alves would bring along the Brazilian flair to Quara United. In another sports news, quickly, Manchester United signed Edinson Cavani. Manchester United signed Uruguayan international striker Edinson Cavani on a busy transfer deadline day for the Red Devils. Cavani has been without a club since leaving Paris Saint-Germain at the end of June. The 33-year-old is PSG's all-time top scorer, scoring 200 goals in 7 seasons at the Parc des Princes. Cavani could even make his debut against his former club as United opened their Champions League campaign away to PSG on October 20th. United also signed Brazilian international left-back Alex Telles from Porto for £13.5 million and agreed to deal with Atlanta for the future transfer of teenager winger Amad Diallo. The English Giants were under the spotlights after a humiliating 6-1 home defeat to Tottenham in the Premier League on Sunday, after making just one signing all window before Monday in Dutch international midfielder Donny van de Beek. And Cavani will bring experience to a talented young frontline formed by Marcus Rashford, Anthony Martial and Mason Greenwood. However, it is at the other end of the field that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's men are badly in need of fresh blood after conceding 13 goals in their opening 3 Premier League games. Cavani won 6 League One titles during his time with PSG and lifted the Copa America in 2011 with Uruguay. And there was also a departure from Old Trafford on Monday as Chris Smalling secured a permanent move to Roma for €15 million after impressing for the Italians during a loan spell last season. And that has brought us to the end of the news on Celebration Television News Desk. In case you're just joining us, here's the news headlines recap. Lay aside every weight, says Apostle Johnson Suleiman. Sierra Leone reopens schools. Trump downplays virus on leaving hospital. Nigeria's gas exports recover and surpasses pre-COVID-19 level. And Brazilian winger Alves joined Quara United on one-year deal. And quickly, we have photo of the day. You could see some at the elevated part, some at the bottom, some pulling, trying to pull some up. What does that mean? It tells us that everyone needs someone to get to the apex of life. You can as well drop your comment on our social media platform on Facebook, Celebration TV, Instagram, My Celebration TV, Twitter at My Celebration TV, YouTube, Celebration TV. Always remember that the continuous transformation of our society is a collective responsibility of all. No matter the office you hold today as a nation's president, a thought leader, an opinion molder, a character builder, a professional, or as a person pursuing passion, you have a duty to give your all to making the society a better place for us and the generations to come. Play your part and do it with all diligence. Thank you once again for staying with us on our news desk. I remain Nicholas Akosile Walter. Bless you. To 15.7 trillion naira at the end of December 2018.
Senior Democrats have responded, accusing him of committing a gross offense.
The All Progressives Congress has vowed to punish the Ogun State Governor, Ibikule Amosu.